don't even need to use it as a CI platform. This is something you can use in
It's a lot
production.
more than CI. Yeah.
I've never thought about it outside the context of CI.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Normally, yeah, it should work.
Yeah.
I'm a bit
I'm
a bit stressed.
I can edit that bit out.
Oh yeah. Let's just clear the screen because I can't edit that part out.
It does work. There's nothing wrong with promised all.
Yay!
Okay, so yeah, I did
thing.
my job correctly.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. I sort of planned out what I would like to do as a sort of bare bones start of this today. So at the moment, we have another phase of this pipeline that's currently unpredictable. Like it sometimes passes, sometimes fails. So for today, I'd rather just stick to the two parts of the test that I know run. The type check that I know runs because the linter wasn't always applying a commit if it had failed, and there's currently some things that the linter can't fix. So we'll omit that from the pipeline today. But if the pipeline could just do this, build, type check, run the two sets of tests, and then deploy to our integration environment, I think that's a really good proof of concept of this.
Okay, I like that. I think the first thing which we need to do is make sure that you have the Dagger CLI installed. If you go to docs.dagger.io/install. So are you on a Mac?
Windows and WSL.
Wow, interesting. I haven't done this before. Let's see if this works. Great test.
There we go.
Let's try Windows. Or curl. What would be easier for you? How would you normally install things?
Yeah, curl, probably. So let's do this.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's shove it there. Permission
Cannot create permission denied. Okay,
let's just do it.
Great.
Let's just go to my root and we'll do it here instead.
This is fine. I think we just need to do a sudo. After the pipe, you add a sudo in front of sh.
Gotcha. So let's do that.
But yeah, if you go back to the docs, you'll see it. Sudo is mentioned there.
Oh, here. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That's why.
If your user account doesn't have sufficient privileges to install,
yes,
it mentions sudo.
Okay, perfect.
Alternatively, you can install it to a different location like home, because it just creates a bin directory.
Exactly.
But okay.
Yeah, so this is fine. It is still... Oh, wait. It's asking for my password, that's why. There we go. Cool.
Okay. Now I'll do maybe a which Dagger, just to see where you're picking Dagger from.
Use a local bin. Perfect.
I think that right now we want to create a new module.
Okay.
Which is specific for this app. Tom, would you agree with that? Next step? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So rather than, us telling you like what commands to type, I'm keen for you to go to the docs and us double checking that the docs are accurate.
Okay.
And there is a specific URL which I'm going to share because this hasn't been merged yet. This is a specific pull request. Again, by the time this will be live, I expect this pull request to be merged. But for now, we're looking at a version of the docs which isn't out yet.
Perfect.
That's the one.
Cool.
And this gets us to the point where we install the CLI.
Yep.
And we can skip through the example application because we already have it. That's it. Create your first Dagger module. I think that's what we want to do next.
So this is where we are now. And okay, so the name of my module would be, let's just call this the same as what the application is.
Yeah.
And we want to use TypeScript.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this will create a new Dagger module with the name Chauveau.ui and the TypeScript SDK.
Correct.
Great.
Maybe you want to put it into a subdirectory. I don't know how your repository currently looks, but if you already have a tsconfig or a package.json, it's going to be overridden. So what I would do is create a subdirectory name like CI or like, I don't know, Dagger CLI, and do the init inside it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think that's a better idea.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't kill this.
Yeah, it will be killed after the polling normally.
Oh, great. Okay, so it will... That's good. That's good. Okay, so it's not actually done anything. So let's actually just go and make a... let's do a .ci. and then we'll run this again in here.
Yeah.
Perfect. And yeah, we've got the image now, so we don't have to wait for that to pull again. That's some nice looking CLI tool.
Alex is bringing some amazing improvements to it. I mean, even like between the various patch versions, it just keeps improving. For example, one of my favorite recent features is that it tells you which engine of the version it connects to.
Yeah.
If the two don't line up, if the CLI and the engine doesn't line up, there can be issues.
Yeah.
So that's why it always tells you I'm connected to this engine, the engine SHA, and the engine version, because you can have multiple running, so on and so forth. So that's nice indeed.
That is very cool. Okay, so
cool.
Let's have a look at what that's generated for us. So we have dagger.json.
So in this package.json, it's just like everything that is required to run the TypeScript SDK. You have a SDK directory, which is generated by Dagger. The package.json makes sure that when you execute your Dagger module, like you will copy this directory and you will execute this directory, so you need the dependencies. That's why there is a package.json.
Gotcha.
Let's have a look at the file to see what is in package.json.
Okay, so we got... Cool, so yeah, GraphQL, so it's built to the engine.
Exactly.
Task.
Yeah, so these are all the dependencies, yes, that the TypeScript runtime in the module needs to be able to communicate to the engine. And that's it. It's just the TypeScript runtime dependencies, not your dependencies.
Yeah.
Now, you have seen alongside there's a dagger.json. So let's open that one next to see what's there. Because that's I think, the more interesting one, right? So here we just have the name of the module that we created and the SDK runtime that should be used as this module gets executed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but any dependencies that you declare, any module dependencies on other modules will appear here. And as we add the first one, we will see how this will change.
You're right.
Cool. So we can get out of this file as well. One thing which I would say is, and let me know what you think, Alex, rather than putting it in .ci, I would call it something more specific. I would call it Dagger, for example, because it's very clear what it is. .ci is too generic.
Yeah, I agree.
And we can keep the dot if you want, like .github, but we can also like make a top-level Dagger, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I definitely like the dot. So let's just move it to .dagger instead.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. Great.
Okay, so we have the beginning of our own module, where I think the first one, we know that we need the node module. So how would you approach this, Tom? Would you start creating something like functions, or would you declare the module dependency first?
First, I will check what's in the current SRC. Maybe run a Dagger function just to explore, because like
that's a good one.
We maybe don't know. Maybe when I present what's going to be there.
Let's do an LS. Yeah, let's do an LS, and let's keep looking at the other directories. So what is in SDK? I don't think we should look into that. That's all the generated code for the SDK, so we can ignore that.
Okay, so
let's have a look in the SRC directory.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got an index.ts in there. And okay, so this is going to be... Sorry, I don't know why my LSP is crashing in my editor. That's not great, but who doesn't matter too much. Right, okay, so in here we have this command port UI class, which is the name of my project, container echo Alpine latest. So I guess that's going to be the image it uses. It pulls down an Alpine image and then just runs some like hello world text for an example.
Yes.
And then grep directory.
So I really liked Tom's idea to run a few Dagger commands, Dagger CLI commands, to see what is available here. And I think the first one that Tom mentioned was functions. So how do we run that, Tom?
So you can open a terminal. And then you can simply run Dagger function. And what this command do is
plural.
To
Dagger
list
functions plural.
Functions. It will list the available functions inside your module, because you can have private function and expose functions that will actually extend the API.
Right.
So yeah, this is a good way to explore a new module and understand what it can do.
Okay.
And I think it will be very useful once we get to your module, so you can like follow what's going on.
This makes sense. So this goes back to what you were saying around everything can be composable, and you can define as many functions as you want in one of these packages and then consume it in any of your other. Yeah, okay, I like that. That's pretty cool.
And now that you see functions, we can see how we can invoke a function from a module using the CLI.
Yes.
So you have the example for the container echo, which you can copy and try running and see what happens.
I was hoping it was going to auto-complete, but I guess it doesn't know how to.
Tom is taking notes. Auto-completion on the list.
Normally it is. It's on the.
It is on the list, seriously.
So here we go.
But it's hard because it's dynamic. Like your CLI becomes dynamic with modules, so it becomes really hard.
Yes. Here we go. Nice.
So I think, so using Yo, you can change it to something else. And the reason, if you change it to something else and you run it again, what I would expect to happen is to be slightly quicker.
Because it's not
because
pulling
the first time it runs,
exactly.
The first time it runs, it just needs to pull some dependencies. The second time, it should be quicker.
So it's just starting the container, and then because I need to pass that in as actual string, most likely.
So you've done multiple commands, or double quoted. That should work too.
Yeah, that should work.
There we go.
Cool. So a little bit quicker, like a second. There's still like some setup time and things like that, but we're continuously optimizing this.
Yeah.
When we started, last time when I looked, this used to be 20-something seconds.
Wow.
Just to get an idea. So this just keeps getting lower and lower to the point that it should be almost nearly instant.
Yeah. So, so that's obviously, it's cold start every time. And well, the first time that is going to be doing a pull, and it no longer has to do a pull on the second time. So every time you're running one of these Dagger commands, it's always starting a new container up from that image. It's not like all of these images, like they start up the container and then they do the thing and it gets torn down just like it would in Docker unless it's got like some persistent thing that's keeping the container alive for longer.
It's actually a little bit different than that. So think about all the operations that run.
Yeah.
Every operation is a container. Kind of, but not the container in the Docker run sense, a container in the Docker build sense. So when you run Docker build, right, and you have like all the lines in the Docker file, exactly, it's like one of those layers. So each command is one of those layers that runs.
Yeah.
And if the layer has run before and the inputs haven't changed, we just reuse the outputs.
Okay, yeah, so it's similar to Docker where it caches all the layers as long as as long as one of the lines before it hasn't changed, and then it would bust the cache for the rest of the way down. Okay.
Exactly, yes. That's exactly it, yes.
And what's this using under the hood? Is it container D or is this Docker as well?
So under the hood, it has a couple of components. The most important one is BuildKit. I would say that's about like 50% of Dagger. Yeah. BuildKit, which runs these operations. But there's other things around it. So for example, it does have runc. It does have container D's coming. It's not there yet, but it's coming. Yeah. There's also some networking stuff. There's there's a shim. So I would say, again, 50% is BuildKit, which is the bulk of operations, which is exactly what you would use if you were to do a Docker build and you would have a Docker file.
Yeah.
So the component that makes those things happen, those operations that materializes them, it's called BuildKit.
Okay, great, thanks.
And if you run, so I know that you have Docker installed because if you didn't, none of this would work. So if you were to list your containers in Docker, you would see that, there you go. Dagger. This is the Dagger container. Yeah. Everything that we run runs in the context of that container.
Yeah.
But that container is privileged. It has access to like host networking and all of that because Dagger itself can run containers. Yeah. And the containers, they're not linked to a specific pipeline. Mm-hmm. You can start services like databases or things like that you may want to reuse between runs.
Yeah.
Tom has been working on some really cool things. Let's see if we get to that part. So what should we do next, Tom?
So next, I think we should first start to get the source code in our pipeline. But I think without the source code, you cannot do your tests. You cannot build anything.
Yeah.
So I think we can go back into the index.ts in the RSRC directory. And we can remove everything existing. And I think, so we want the source code. So we could create a source function that would be, I guess, private. I'm not sure you want to expose that. Yeah. So when I say private, it's just like you don't expose it with the keyword field, but you can, like, if you want to keep it public inside your class, you can. It should work if it's private too. So like, yeah. And you want to, like, I think it doesn't really matter. So it's a class. So normally you don't have function. You don't have the keyword function inside a TypeScript class.
Sorry, I don't. I normally use I don't use class-based TypeScript normally. So this is.
So is it the feature? The feature or to like expose directly function instead of being inside a class will come, but for now it's not supported. So this source function, you want to return a directory, which will be your source code.
So if I just do I need to import path, or can I just do a relative?
It's a bit more complicated than that, because your piece of code here gonna be executed inside the Dagger runtime, the Dagger TypeScript runtime.
Yeah.
So in order to access your host, you need to use the Dagger API. If we check at the import really quick, we see that we have a DAG.
Yeah.
This DAG is like the global access to the Dagger API.
Okay.
Every module, function, everything exposed by inside the Dagger API can be accessed through this DAG variable. So maybe you can do DAG dot inside the return, and you can see a bunch of things that's gonna appear in your and you can see there is a host.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to execute the host, and inside that host you can access a directory.
Okay.
It's a function. Everything when you access the API, it's always a function, because what it's doing under the hood is that it's calling the Dagger engine through a GraphQL request. Like when we are doing that, we're building a GraphQL query that will be sent to the engine.
Yeah.
And we have the directory right here, and we can use a path. So I think you want to get the source code, meaning it's not just the current directory, but it's everything at the root. Correct?
Yes. Level up.
If I'm wrong.
Yeah, I want to go level up. But I want to go multiple levels up. If I'm in SRC and Dagger, I want to go.
Yeah, one more.
Yeah.
And there is an issue. So there is an issue right now. It's just with Dagger, is that you cannot access upper level of directory without, like, with a relative path. You have to use an absolute one.
Okay.
So you will need to prepend your name before your //
Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus.
Can't type in this.
And maybe you want to add a slash.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so here we have something to get the source code. Now we maybe want to spin up a container that will just like be our base container for every task we're gonna do after. So maybe we want to create another function called, I don't know, base. And I think we want to expose it, because there will be something really cool we're gonna do after that.
Okay.
Once we get the base working. So the base is going to return a container, which will be your base container.
I have a question. Should we be declaring these types in the functions?
Yeah, you need to declare the types. I forgot to mention it. You need to declare the return types, because it's used by the TypeScript SDK to extend the API. So now it's going to be a directory and a container.
Oh, sorry, a directory and a container.
Yeah.
So does this not get automatically inferred via the fact that this is always a directory? Or is it this just to assist?
It's to assist the TypeScript SDK, because what the TypeScript SDK is going to do is that it will take your code
Yeah.
And it will analyze it in order to understand what are the function, what's the return type, etc.
Okay.
And from that, it will extend the GraphQL API. So you need to give as much information as possible so the SDK can successfully extend the API.
Okay.
Which include function name, docs.
So being explicit with the TypeScript types rather than letting it infer them like it would if you didn't have an ambiguous return type, it would just infer it normally. But
this is why we do not support JavaScript, because we need so much type information. We need to be explicit.
Yeah.
We decided to drop the JavaScript for the modules because it would be like really complex to implement this logic. We would need to use JavaDoc and JSDoc, and that would be really painful for both us and the user experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we want as for the base is to spin up a node container. Just to confirm, your code base is in Node, right?
It is, yes.
So I think we can have a look at the Daggerverse. Okay, so if we go on daggerverse.dev, we can see a list of available modules, either made by the community or by Dagger members. Basically, anyone can publish a module. You can just go there and you can use your URL to publish it. As you see, I published some modules, but that's not the point. So what we're looking for is the node module. So we can search it and we can see there is a bunch of modules. But what we want is the latest version that I prepared for you. And it's that one, so we can click on it.
Yeah.
It's a TypeScript module that will help you manage a node project, a node container. So you have the setup, you can configure a package manager, You can run some command, you can publish, extend the package you need, etc., etc. And I think this will be the basis for your CI. The idea of module is that you can reuse existing one and extend it to match your need. So why don't you install the node module so you can use this command? I'm gonna send it to you and we can get back to your screen.
Perfect.
So this will fetch the GitHub repository. It will check if there is a module, and if there is, it will extend your current clients. So in the SDK, you have the generated client and it's gonna add the node module inside your project.
Yeah. Perfect.
So you have to remove HTTPS.
No protocol.
No protocol for the.
Oh, no protocol. Yeah.
And it works. Nice.
So
here you're just basically installing the node module. You can install as much module as you want, but I think for this use case, you just need the node module.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can just check before the dagger.json file, and you will see that there is an extra line that
that's a good one, Tom. That's a good one.
Okay, this is nice.
Basically, it's the same as Go module, go.mod or like go.sum, but for Dagger, we use the same logic. And so, you basically everything you install is going to be in your Dagger.json. Because as I said, everything is generated, meaning you don't push the SDK directory. So Dagger needs a way to know what to generate when you push your code and you generate the SDK on your CI.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we can go back into the index.ts.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what I said about the DAG variable?
Yes, it's the sort of global container of everything that you want to get from the engine. So would I be using that in here? Let's have a look at what it asks for.
I think everything needs to start with a DAG, right? So it's a DAG, and then everything is a function call on the DAG. That's like the top level.
Sorry, this is the type, isn't it?
Pretty much everything.
So
you can just do return DAG dot, and you will see that there is a node. There is node now. because you wanna use the node module.
Got you. So because that makes sense. So it's extended the Dagger engine to add this node package onto it, which is sort of top level.
That's the cool part.
Very
and
cool.
that's why you get your LSP, right? And the documentation and all of it. That's how it all fits together.
That's awesome.
And so it's a function code. Yeah, perfect. And so we have a bunch of functions. So that would be much better if we could like check on Daggerverse, but maybe.
Can you give the link, Tom, to go to your GitHub? Because you can go to your GitHub, right? And still, actually, if you go to the GitHub dependency, the Daggerverse just consumes the README from the GitHub repo. I think the only thing different here is like you need to take Node and TypeScript if you remove those, because it's like a tree.
Okay.
So Quartz, Technology, Daggerverse.
Yep.
And then if you go there, and then you'll start browsing that tree.
Okay, so
cool.
Then you have Node module.
Then you have Node.
TypeScript.
And you have TypeScript. Yeah, because I made it in two languages. So here we have like the README, but what we want is to go into SRC and check what functions are available, which is basically normally what you do from like Daggerverse, but here we can't. So we can check really quick. We have some function. We have a with version, which helps you to set up a node container with a specific version. So my question is, what's your node version for
18.17, I think. Let's have a look. 18.17.1 currently.
So, okay, so what we can do first is inside the index.ts call with version and add your node version. Perfect. So there are other functions. Let's have a look again at the available function. Okay, so if we go a bit lower, we have with source.
Yeah.
I think you want to add the source into your node container, so we can call with source with your source function.
Yeah, that's cool. So
it will start to make sense as like once we assemble everything, it starts to make sense. This.src. Yes, perfect. So we can go back to the function and check other. I think we need something else. Maybe with npm, if you're using npm.
Yes. To do the install and
All right. Okay. And so here we have a base. We have a base container, but we can do something else too. We can install dependencies. So there is an install function that you can call. Yeah, exactly. And now, so you told me that you build your project for every command. Is that true, or like sometimes you're just executing commands, but on a non-build project? Like, is it a requirement to build now, or you can build later?
I think I need to build at the start so that every step can use that artifact.
Okay, so you can call .build, which is another command available that will build your project. It will call basically npm run build.
Yeah.
If that's the way you build your project. Okay.
Yes.
And now, so we have, this is done into a node context in the node module, but what we want is to return a container. So we have a function called container that you can call, and that will return the result container.
Nice.
Okay.
Install here is expecting an argument.
Oh yeah, it's inspecting the dependencies, but since you don't have any dependencies to install, you just want to install the basic, you can add empty square bracket.
Okay.
Yeah, this is because it's been fixed since, but I did not update the module. But you had to, like, there was no optional arguments before.
Right.
So that's why.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I think that would be really cool if we can check that our container got everything we want. If we can expose the function base.
Yes.
To do so, we need to add the decorator func if you remember from the templates example, we had @func decorator, which is how you extend the API. Okay. So now we have a base function that is exposed by your module. So I think we should do a Dagger function. We should execute Dagger functions to see if it's actually there.
Okay, so let's do that. So this is really cool. So because I've now added this definition and added this @func tag, when I run Dagger run functions, it evaluates everything that's defined inside the source directory and then extends the engine with anything that's tagged publicly with this @func decorator.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, cool.
So what we could do is check what is inside that container. Because you prepare a container, you know that you want to execute commands in it. But before doing that, just confirm that we have everything we need would be a nice thing. So we have a shell command that allows you to open a shell inside a Dagger container. So what you could do is do Dagger shell base.
Yeah.
And normally, if everything has been done right, you should have a shell opened inside your container.
Okay, very cool. And then we can inspect the source and see that everything is...
Yeah, just to confirm, oh, we have an issue. What is it? SRC. So I guess it's from the...
It's not managed to mount the directory.
Oh yeah, I think I know where is the issue.
Oh.
I think it's because we have to give access to Dagger the upper root directory. So can you go back into root dagger.json?
Yeah.
And here we should have a key root. And we can do ... So this gives access to the Dagger host, everything that is at the root. So here it will be everything at two upper directories. So let's try to execute it again.
Yeah. So sorry, just while we're looking at this, if we have like this Dagger, if we try to do like SRC function, is there any way that it could have actually inferred this root from the dagger.json rather than having to specify it again? Because it kind of knows that it's...
So this is true, but not in every language. In Node, their name is related to your current execution.
Yes.
But in Go, that's actually true.
Okay, so this is purely so we have a consistent API across all languages, and that's why we have to make these decisions. Okay, makes sense to me. Right, let's try again.
Yeah, normally that should work this time. And if it does not, I have to find a way to make it work really fast because it should. So here it might take a bit of time because you're going to upload everything in your SRC. I guess it's a pretty big project.
It is. So the install time is normally fairly long anyway. So I would expect this to take a minute or two.
Yeah, it should be way faster once we have a cache. And there is something we have not done now is taking advantage of the exclude properties of dagger.host.directory.
Why is it trying to access? Why is it trying to access this directory? This isn't part of this project.
Is it because it's going to...
So I think we did 2 instead of 1. If you go back to Dagger.json, you only want to go a level up, not 2 levels up.
Oh yeah, because we're not in the SRC directory anymore. Yeah.
That's it.
Another interesting thing on this as well, like this build artifact we use we install it with like dev and production dependencies. But before we deploy to production, it'd be really awesome if you can shake the dev dependencies from that artifact. Is that something we can do in Dagger as well, or?
Yes. So that's yes. I mean, because I have exactly the same issue with other applications which I build, where you need the dev dependencies to run specific tasks or the test dependencies, more importantly, but in the final production build, you don't want to have them.
Exactly.
So yes, is the answer.
Okay, nice.
I forget something. Can you Control-C? We forget to add the entry point to run a shell. Because the node not by default run a node command, so that's my bad.
Okay.
Maybe if you Control-C.
It's not letting me, but what we can do is we can add the entry point, and then I can kill it from somewhere else.
We don't want to do it here because here it's our base container. What we can do is do it from the Dagger CLI. We have a dash entry point and the base, which is the command to call.
Yeah, you still need base.
Oh, wait, was this right?
Yeah, that was right.
Cool.
Okay, try it again. Normally that should work. I just forget to mention it, my bad. And
That's
that should be way faster. Normally.
Yeah, because now we got caches. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, yeah.
Still needs to upload everything, but still.
So,
Yeah, and I think it's still, the other one is still running.
it is. I can't kill it.
Oh, yeah, because it's running npm install for your...
Yes. So when that step
project.
finishes, it will kill it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't lie when you said your dependencies were slow to download.
oh yeah. It's a large project to build, so you can see why this is exponentially slow if you got to build it on every step.
Yeah. With the node module by default.
Yes.
Which I guess you do not.
No.
Normally it should be faster after the first time it succeeds.
Yeah.
The one thing which I would mention for that is to make sure that the cache doesn't get busted every time. Make sure that you either include or exclude only the correct paths. Because what usually happens is, let's imagine that you change your README or you change your GitHub workflow, and all of a sudden the cache gets busted because you've imported everything at root. That's why you want to be selective and only include the files, which if they change, only then you want to bust the cache.
Yes.
Yeah, you could do that in the index.ts.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's do the shell first, and then we can go and maybe improve the index.ts to be a bit more selective about what we include in the container, in the base container.
Maybe try
okay.
That, yeah. Oh.
And maybe run some npm commands, because this is basically your project with all the dependencies installed, right? So you should be able to run, like, for example, lint or test.
Okay, yeah. So let's go Typecheck.
Normally, yeah, it should work.
Yeah.
I'm a bit stressed. The idea is that everything, like the test and stuff, you're gonna do the same thing, but inside Dagger container, so you can benefit from the cache and expose those commands.
Very nice. Okay, so we could actually make these. We can make these commands accessible outside of the container.
Yes.
Very cool. That just then gives you a hook from your standard. So yeah, that's really nice.
Exactly. And this is exactly what we're gonna do. So you mentioned you want to do a build, which this is done.
Yeah.
You are building your project. Maybe you can go back into the shell and check that you have a dist directory, just to be sure.
Yeah, so let's go cd. I think server is the one that I built it to. Yeah, this is everything. Yeah, nice.
Right.
Very cool.
So the one thing which I would say, I would rename base to build. That's a lot more descriptive.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go build.
Yeah, what I had in mind is that we have a base and then we build, but either way, since you want to build on every step, that will do.
Yeah.
So okay. Now, if I remember well your schema, you want to run the Typecheck command.
Can we bring it up? Can we bring up the steps that you want us to complete?
Yes, let's do.
We can create a Typecheck function that we will expose using the @field decorator.
Yep. And this returns anything.
And I think this will, what you want to get from that command is the output of the Typecheck execution.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to return a string, and it's gonna be a promise because you're gonna asynchronously.
Yes.
Like you're gonna exec something asynchronous.
Yeah.
And so your function can be async. So you can add the keyword. Yeah, perfect.
Nice.
And what you want to do is to reuse the node. Okay, there is two ways here. Either you use the node module in order to execute your command.
Yeah.
But because it's not a standard command, like it's not added, I didn't add the typecheck command inside the node module.
Yeah.
So what you will need to do is to run it like from scratch. So you can either use a node module, but I don't see the benefit here, or you can use the container API to execute your command.
Okay.
So what do you want to do?
We've got a couple of things that we're going to run. So seeing as this is going to be consumed by other people as well, should we do one where we do a raw exec using the container, and one where we use the package to execute it, and then we can show both ways?
Yeah, I agree with you. So okay, let's use the container API for now. So you can return build.
Yeah.
Because you want to reuse the result of build.
Yeah.
And you can do a with exec, which is gonna execute a command. And you want to, so it will npm run. npm is already set as the entry point.
Okay.
So you just wanna run typecheck.
Yeah.
And it's a command. It's an array. Where every member of the array is
so similar to Docker with a run. Sorry, yeah. So
exactly.
Cool.
Okay, and you want to return the. You don't need to type await here because your function is async.
Oh, because it's a promise.
Sorry,
I'm returning a promise. Not yeah. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to return the std out, the standard output.
Yeah.
And it's a function, so you need to execute it.
Okay.
And here we are. So we can try to call it and see what happens.
So we should see now that we have this function exposed. And also,
normally,
we also had something to annotate a description of like example usage. What was that?
You can just add a comment on top of your function.
On top, okay.
I think you should put it on top of @func, and it should be a JavaScript command with the star. I don't know how you call it. Yeah, like that. Because it's GSDoc.
Gotcha.
Multi-line comment.
Multi-line comment, yeah.
Yeah. So we would say, what do I want to say for this?
Can say run typecheck on my project.
Yeah, let's do that.
Using Dagger call typecheck, for instance. Or example,
you give an example.
Dagger call. Yeah.
You want to give it like an example, right? Dagger call, and that's the example that people can copy and paste.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we'll run.
Yeah. Okay, great. So if we run this again, we should now
For ideas, Alex, you can always go back to that module, the node module that Tom mentioned.
Yeah.
And you can see how he adds comments.
Yes.
Because your module is similar to that, just like at another level of abstraction.
That's a very good point. So he's got, there we go. Okay.
Cool. And I don't know whether do you have an example, Tom, where you're giving a command to run? Because there's like a notation, I think we use like double quotes, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If we're consistent when we give examples.
There was in the base example.
The reason why you have to think about this, Alex, is that this can be generated into documentation.
And of course. Then you get
down as
highlighting.
Markdown. You want to use Markdown, exactly, like that syntax.
Yeah. So Dagger call typecheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And this shouldn't install anything.
Normally it should be fast.
But I think the reason why it will is because going back to the base, we don't exclude anything or we don't include anything specific. So when you make a change to the .dagger directory...
it's going to bust all of the cache.
Exactly. That's why we have to go back and be a bit more selective about what we include.
Interesting. So where would we do this?
So not inside the dag.os.directory. You have an
line
exclude
10.
or include. Yeah,
Line 10.
Line
10. Oh, it's
10
line
above.
3.
3 above. 3 above,
8.
the relative.
Yeah.
3 above. Yeah, relative line numbers, I use them. Yeah, line 7, there you go. Now, when you're on it, you know exactly what line it is. Otherwise, you have to count.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you have an exclude and include option. Nope, it's an option, so it's
Okay.
an object. Like you can use the bracket.
Yeah, there we go.
And you have include and exclude. It's up to you what you want. Like usually I use exclude, but I know that Gerard prefer to use include. So
Yeah.
it's honestly up to you.
Yeah.
Include, because if you add new files, you'll be busting the cache in an unexpected way.
Yeah.
Include doesn't change unless you want it to change. It's a bit more explicit. While exclude, as I said, let's say you add a new, YAML config, and boom, your cache will get busted and you won't know why.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Let's keep it simple for now. We'll add in the app directory because that's the main thing that changes, and we'll also add in the test directory. And maybe Cypress as well. So let's do...
And I think package as well. I'm pretty sure you'll want package as well. And package lock, yarn lock.
Oh, yes, of course.
Package.lock. Yeah, I don't think you need Prisma or like anything like that for now.
Although anytime that I change...
Maybe tsconfig, sorry.
Yeah, tsconfig, but I'm also thinking...
And cypress.config.js.
Yeah. Let's see the files. Like, what files do we have? That's always easier.
So I'm just thinking, do you want to include the build as well? Like no, because I would, if I change something, it would re-trigger the build, and then I'd have a new build anyway. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. If anything, the build you would exclude it, because if you do any work locally, you wouldn't want, like let's say you run a command, see what will run in CI, because again, you will wire this in your CI. You wouldn't want that to be re-triggered.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe you will also need vtest and remix config. I don't know, but like maybe.
Yeah, they don't change often, but if we did change them, we would want to.
And I've seen a package-lock instead of a package.lock. To be honest, you know what I would do? I would copy the list of files, and I would only leave the files that you want, because there's quite a few. And that's how you can be sure that you won't miss any.
Yeah, while we're doing this, why don't we just keep it really simple, and we'll go with exclude. We'll say we're going to exclude the node modules. No, we're going to exclude...
We can try that. Sure.
Build. We're going to exclude server. And we're going to exclude Prisma.
Maybe node modules as well.
Yeah. And
modules. You'll end up with the same end result, but let's keep going, because you want to exclude .github, you want to exclude README, you want to exclude .dagger. So to be honest, I think include would be better.
Oh my god, you're right, because it's not VS Code.
There you go. Okay. Plus files that you don't yet have. So,
but it's good to know that I can come back and sit down and look at this and go, right, what do I want to include in or exclude from my build? But I think this should get us started. Can we just cat/server? What's in there? ls.
Okay, that's still pretty fast. 1 minute, 31.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty decent.
That is pretty good.
I don't know how much time it takes on your CI to run a type check, but this is what's good locally.
I mean, if we call it again now, will it be quicker? Because now because we're going to have to build again, aren't we? Because we've just added that include or exclude thing.
Yeah, that's right. Let's run it now, and then let's do another change maybe, and let's see. Maybe we add like we add like an extra function to index.ts in the .dagger, and it should be much quicker because it should just reuse the previous build.
Let's prepare for that then. So let's do our other function, and we were going to also have let's do unit, the test unit, and that's going to be again promise string because we're returning standard out of whatever it returned. So Tom, you said there was another way of doing it, and we were going to demo both. So the other way of calling this is through the node package.
Yeah, and here what you will need to is to reinitiate the node container, but instead of redoing what we already done with version, with source, with npm, we can just use the with container command that will copy a container and put it inside the context of a node of the node module.
Okay.
This build.
Oops, sorry.
This build.
Yes, this build. Oh, it's so close.
But
it's very intuitive. It's nice.
Thank you. And what commands do you want to run?
This one would be run test : unit.
Okay, so it's not unit test. It's like a special. Is it like a special name? Because I remember I made a comment unit. But
let's go. Yeah. So it's just running the test actually, but
okay.
We alias
so
this.
you can do run test .unit.
Oh wait, no, I can do it. It's one string. It's one string. There we go.
Yeah, and maybe you want the std out, because run will return you the resulting container of the command. So then you can choose what you want, because maybe you don't want the standard output. Maybe you want the stdr. Maybe you want an artifact. It's like it's like a wrapper around a run command, a with exec.
Yeah.
But that will have like additional logic to make it like a bit more simple to use. I feel like it's simpler to call .run than calling .with exec.
Yes.
It makes more sense in the context of a node project.
So would you still call .standard out on this, or would you do something else?
I would call std out, yeah. You want to run your unit test, so what you expect.
Yeah, I want exactly on the output. Cool. Great. This is a very good start.
That was something really cool with Cypress that I wanted to show. I mean, to like make happen, but I'm not sure we will have time.
No.
Maybe for another one.
For next time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Basically, the idea was to add a command that will deploy your website locally, so inside a Dagger container, and give you access from your localhost. And then from that, you can connect a Cypress container, and you can run your Cypress test from a Cypress container with your website binded as a service.
That sounds awesome.
So yeah, that's pretty cool, because you can keep your website as it is, and you can just use the power of container to set up different environments depending on your need. Like you need to run Cypress, so you don't want to install Cypress inside your node container. You can just use a Cypress container and bind it, and that was the idea. But I think we can do it next time. Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah. If we want to do a part 2 on this, then I'll happily.
We'll need to.
I'll park
it's not
this
optional.
branch. Yeah.
It's not optional.
I'm glad, because I don't want to be left alone.
Yeah. No. Yeah, we'll see this through. Just not today.
Yeah. No. Amazing.
Shall we see it run and see like the
Let's do a test unit.
The speed up? Yeah.
Yeah, because exactly. Let's see what the Typecheck does now. So it was 1:08, and it now goes.
And we can see that Typecheck has reduced its time. It was 1 minute and 31 seconds. Now it's 1 minute and 8.
Yep.
So we are winning time.
Mm-hmm. And let's see what we get this time. Is it doing a full build?
Should not normally.
It is.
Oh, it's the runtime. It's the runtime, because that's the thing, and I need to work on that. Is that every time you execute a Dagger command with module, we have to prepare the runtime in order to build it. So indeed, we have cache, but still, it takes time to like get the source code, execute the command, etc. So So I need to find a way to make it way faster. Because here we lost like 40 seconds preparing the runtime.
Yeah. But that would only be for the first exec on the pipeline. Like if we had a pipeline that used that build artifact to call multiple commands, we would actually be able to chain them together, and it would be
that would be okay.
It would be quicker. Like if we had like, let's just
let's add another one really quickly because this is really cool. This is worth looking into now.
Yeah.
You had a @async. I think you want to
remove it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So if we just had this and we called this
Typecheck and test units.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be really fast. That should be really, really fast normally. You want to await both, or maybe you want to do a promise.all and await them concurrently.
Exactly.
And normally that should be fast.
Sorry, I forgot there.
I know the support on Node for concurrency execution is not perfect. There are ways. I think we have a tutorial inside our docs that explain how to run things concurrently with Node. But what I would do, this is what I did on one of my personal projects, is that I made module using TypeScript SDK, and then I wanted to test them concurrently. So what I did is that I created a Go module that imports my TypeScript code and call it concurrently using Go routine.
Nice.
This is something really cool with Dagger, is that you can break the barrier of language by calling a TypeScript code from a Go code or a Python code.
That is okay.
And take benefits.
Nice. So you can parrot because so you'd wrote a module in Node, and then you called that module concurrently using Go routines in the Go packet. That's
from awesome. From a Go module.
That's really cool, because obviously all the Go module doing is calling the Node container, but then you can call Go routines. You can just parallelize them as much as you. That's really awesome.
GraphQL. It's all using GraphQL, right?
Yeah.
So
you need to call
the Go module is making GraphQL API calls, which in turn translate into running the TypeScript.
Really awesome.
Containers.
So that's where it's super powerful. I didn't realize across languages they were composable as well. That's really cool. Sorry, I didn't realize, because this said run. So maybe a bit of feedback is exec for that instead, or default run to actually use run as the npm run as the.
It's because the run. So this is something I should update about my module. It's because yarn does not need run to run a command. Like you can just do yarn test init, and so the run function is generic for any package manager. So maybe I should add some customization.
If you detect with npm, then you know that's your package manager maybe, and then you could set some sane defaults on the run.
Yeah, this is what I will do. I need to update it. So thanks. That's.
Nice. It's really nice to work with though. It's a really clean API you've built here.
I try.
Great job, Tom. Great job.
Thank you. Put a lot of time on it.
I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah. I think that's definitely one of the main cool feature of Dagger, is that you can reuse, you are cross-language, and that's enable even more things than just CI/CD, because, as I said, as you break the language barrier, you can use, you can make a part of your code inside a language and then use another one to take benefit of some capabilities. And imagine you do AI, you can do a Python module that exposes AI. And we actually have some presentation on our community call where people use AI with Dagger. And that means you can have a Go application and you call a Python Dagger module that is executing your AI, and you get the result from Go, and then you can continue your journey with Go. You don't even need to learn Python.
You don't even need to use it as a CI platform. This is something you can use in
production. A lot more than CI. Yeah.
I've never thought about it outside the context of CI. That's really interesting.
And the image that you have, by the way, the image is the standard one, but there is a GPU image variant which has all the NVIDIA tooling already baked in.
Yeah.
So as long as your host has an NVIDIA GPU, it will just work. The whole thing will just work.
Very cool.
Why is this taking 2 minutes and a half already?
Yeah, it looks like it's doing
What did
another
we do
build,
wrong?
is it?
I think it's because it's not either it's not run concurrently, which is possible because I don't know if promise.all run everything concurrently or it's just running everything one by one.
I thought
That will explain why.
I thought it did dispatch them concurrently.
Oh, and also we are not returning anything.
That would be why.
I think that's why.
That's
I
why.
think this finished a long time ago.
Yeah. All right.
And I think that's why it's pretty stuck. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
That would have been it. Go, I can edit that bit out.
Oh yeah. Let's just clear the screen because I can't edit that part out.
Yeah. Did you return something? I didn't saw.
I did. I've changed it to return.
And did you update the return type?
I have to promise, and
it should be
an array of strings.
Yeah.
Promise, not please. Sorry, does that mean this is going to run? Now I understand why. Okay, so this is why we have to do strict types because it uses it to. Yeah. Okay. This one's going to run quickly. I'm expecting this to run in 1 minute and 10 seconds.
I am. I hope so.
So next time when we come back to this, the thing I'm excited about is setting up dependencies on different parts of the pipeline. So tests have to run before. Sorry, the linting and typecheck has to run before the test can run and that sort of stuff. Yeah, this is still running forever.
We still did something wrong. I'm not sure what. Tom, do you know?
I think. Yeah, I guess it's because the promise.all. I'm pretty sure that's the. So I didn't try it, but whatever. Okay. So
is it because we're awaiting it? Should we just be returning promise.all?
I think you should. I don't think there should be an await.
Because here we don't. Yeah, here we just return a promise.
Yeah, maybe. Or I think promise.all is not executing things concurrently. I need to double check because I never tried that. Usually, as I said, I use Go when I want to do concurrency.
Gotcha.
So I never try to run 2 pipelines at the same time using my TypeScript SDK. So I think it's a good test to do. I will add it into my to-do list.
Yeah.
So yeah, either it comes from the promise.all, either it comes from the things that we have to run the first pipeline, so the type check, and then the unit test, which means that it takes some time. And there are actually ways to optimize it if we go back into the index.ts really quick. What I would do there, because the only thing that changed between the type check and the test unit is the executed command. So I would try to, I would make a function that will store the container, like the build, and I would just add, first I would only use one API, either the container one or either the node API. Mm-hmm. So no .run, not .run end with exec. I would use one thing only to execute commands.
Yeah.
And then I would reuse the same results that will either execute with exec or either with the execute .run. I would get the same thing. I don't know if that makes sense. This dag.with container, this .build, I would put it inside a function and I would reuse the same thing. I would share the same thing across my type check and test unit function.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand.
So you start from the same basis.
Okay.
So I think what Tom is saying, Alex, is that if you look at 4 lines above, you have the return dag.
Yeah.
So that line, node.
Yeah.
With container.
Mm-hmm.
So all those 3 lines, and I would say even the rest, I would move them in a function, and then I would call that function, and just pass in the run type check
Yeah.
and the run test unit, so that you're reusing the same definitions.
Yeah. So this would be
that's
like
where you merge a DAG.
Yeah.
I'd have like an exec command or something, and it would return
something like that. Yes, and that's like a private one that both the publicly exposed functions reuse.
Yeah, and that would return.
The thing is that you want to merge your DAG. So like the only part where your DAG is splitting into other things is when you are actually doing something different.
Yeah.
The Typecheck and test unit are doing the same thing except the run. So you want to use the same command for everything except that part. This way your DAG is you are reusing as much cache as possible.
Yeah.
Across your thing.
So this, yeah. So now, because they're both using this same base, it would cache when I run these.
Normally.
So to be honest, to be honest, I think this is an optimization, because when you run this code, right, what happens is that this gets converted into GraphQL calls, and this gets deduplicated when those calls are made.
Gotcha.
So and even follow-up calls, right? Because it strips down those commands to like the basics, and as long as the operation is the same, it doesn't matter where the operation was called from or when it was called even. Yeah. If I've seen this operation before and the inputs haven't changed, I don't care how this GraphQL call came in. All I know, I've already executed, and here's the result. Keep going. So the deduplication happens just in time.
Yeah.
When you invoke it, and it sees, have I run this before? Sometimes you can, for example, give it the entire DAG, right? Because sometimes you know exactly all the commands that you're going to run.
Yeah.
Which is where like this await comes, right? You want to send it as much information as possible. Yeah. But other times you may not know. And what that means is that you're doing just in time. So basically you're executing a command, you're waiting for the result, then you're executing another command. Mm-hmm. And it will deduplicate it, but you'll still have to accept those commands as separate ones.
Yes.
While if you call everything at once, it constructs the DAG at invocation time rather than at runtime.
Right.
So just to wrap this specific part up, how can we see both commands, Tom, run at the same time?
Because the focus, like the CLI is using the focus.
Yes.
It only shows one command, but normally if we do minus focus equal false.
Let's try that. Yeah, so focus false is an option to Dagger, yes.
Yeah.
So and then you do call, and then you do, cool.
And normally you should have
and if we run this, you have a different output, and you can see what is running in parallel and what isn't. Yeah. Now you can start seeing like the entire pipeline as it branches out and it fans out and fans in.
That's very cool.
So maybe now we will be able to understand if it's running concurrently or not. And if it's not, that's why it takes that much time.
Yeah.
And as I said, I never tried to use promise.all, so
what we're
doing right now is experimental, like completely experimental.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good news. That's good news. I have some content to work on.
This is going to be really interesting. Because, if the only way to parallelize things in TypeScript is to put a Go wrap around it, that's gonna be painful for some, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure that's not the way. I'm pretty sure we can do it with Promise, but I need to, as I said, I never tried, so I need to have more information about it to know what are the limits of this solution.
Yes. This finished at quite some time ago.
Yeah, I know. I think I know what is happening, and it's because the unit tests. Can you show me the command?
Because the unit test is us waiting for input.
I think it's just like a long-running process that is waiting for some
change. It is. It's waiting for me to press quit or help.
So you have to. You have to change something inside your package.json to just run the command and not waiting for any change. Are you using Vitest?
Yeah, Vitest.
Okay, let me check really quick because I have a project that is also using Vitest Yeah, it's because you need to do vi-test run. So there is two ways here. Either you change it inside your package.json, but I guess it's not really cool because you want to keep your code base as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you can add the extra arguments to the Dagger inside the Dagger module. Here, if you do --, run, it should happen the run. Not like that, --, and then on the...
yes, because...
Yeah. You want to pass our extra arguments to the command. That's it.
And normally that should fix the issue. Okay, so I'm glad we use we disable the focus so we can understand the issue.
So promise.all is probably just fine.
So yeah, the problem is probably not...
I don't think that was a problem.
Yeah, it's always that thing when you start pointing your finger at node internals before you look at your own code. It's like you're doing something wrong.
And even that optimization that we did, right, where we split out the code, I mean, that was just a refactoring.
Yes.
It shouldn't have mattered for this, right? Even if you have some duplication, it should be fine. Because as I said, all this gets translated to calls to the API. And it doesn't matter whether you have one function or two functions.
I guess it's because one, I was calling exec via the container that we built, but one, I was calling it via exec via the node module. And then because that's two different calls, they maybe don't get bundled up together. So yeah, it's slightly slower, but maybe it's not that much different.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what happens. So it's doing the build, and it's running.
And you should see both running at the same time.
Yep, they both run at the same time. I did see that. And then, come on, Typecheck, finish your stuff. 1 minute 25. Amazing. And then there's the standard out of both.
So it works.
It does work. There's nothing wrong with promise.all.
Okay, so yeah, I did my job correctly.
If you enjoyed this, there is a podcast that goes with it. Check out pod.gerhard.io. You can support this content by owning it. For more details, go to makeitwork.gerhard.io. Until next time.